Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast on where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show, and it's a CBS reunion. And this lady that I'm about to introduce is my friend and colleague, my former CBS co-worker, who I delivered packages to when she was working in the photo department for many years. But the only thing that I didn't know, that she was a singer back then. And I found some clips on YouTube and I saw, is that her? The same one that I delivered packages to was a singer back then? That I didn't know. So I've interviewed her back in season 3 on audio, and now I have her back here for season number 5, and this is our first time meeting each other face to face on our video podcast episode. Now I can tell you that she was a co-founder of the band Blue Number 9, and then later she had a couple of her solo albums. And you can check them out right now, streaming on iTunes, and check out her music videos, also available right now on YouTube. So please help me welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, my friend and colleague, my former CBS co-worker. She's a musician and a singer, and she still looks good. And I don't know how old are you?
No, still. She looks good. Don't say still.
Okay. Yep, she still looks good ever since I've seen her at CBS at Black Rock headquarters every single day. Her name is Stefanie Seskin. Hi, Stefanie. How are you?
How are you today, Sam?
I'm doing fine, and you? Welcome back to my podcast. And when I first interviewed you on season 3, it was on audio, telephone. And now today, since I'm on season number 5 and I'm doing video podcast episodes, and this is my second year doing video podcasting, and now we're seeing each other for the very first time. And I can tell you, last season, I was doing my podcast in my messy kitchen. So when people came up to me and said, don't you have a computer backdrop? And I'll tell them, you want me to get better things? Subscribe and support my show. Same thing with DJ gigs. You want me to get better things like those DJs who bring in their computer? Get me to those DJ gigs so I can get better things. It's the skill that pays the bills. So I'm in season number 5 right here in my living room. You don't have to see any of those stuff right behind me. I'm sitting right on a sofa bed, just like I see those other podcast shows. They either
Hang
on
on
a
one
sofa
second.
bed.
Speaking of stuff behind me, hold on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's stuff behind me that's not necessary to see. It's dirty back there, but that's okay. I'm,
Okay.
I'm in my bedroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because ever since the start of the pandemic, all of our CBS News New York reporters, they had to do their news, sports, and weather in their living room, in their kitchen, in their backyard, with a conference light on and everything. So I wanted to learn on how to do that because I have Facebook and I wanted to learn how to do that too because I'm a sci-fi fan and I'd be watching Star Trek, The Twilight Zone, and The Prisoner and Quantum Leap. So, all that stuff was happening, talked about the future, is here now. So, I'm very delighted to have you back here on my podcast. You look good, you look well, and everything. We're going to talk about everything with what you're doing now a little bit later on in this show.
Well,
So,
speaking of COVID,
yes,
no, I feel like it's COVID again. I haven't gone anywhere, done anything. It's terrible.
wow,
It's bad
yeah.
here. Didn't do a good job.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that a little later on. But the last time we talked about where you're originally from and your nationality. So I know many people may not know what your ethnic background. So please share with our audience you're originally from and your nationality.
Sure. Well, I was born in New Jersey. Both my parents are from New York. She was born and raised in Harlem, and the other was born and raised in the Bronx. And both parents, their parents, were immigrants to this country. My father's parents came from Eastern Europe, and actually, his parents met in New York, but it turned out they grew up like 10 miles from each other. And then my mother's side of the family, her father is from the island of Montserrat, and her mother is from Saba. So those are two Caribbean islands. And then her father grew up on the island of St. Kitts. And so I think his parents had children who they moved to St. Kitts, and some of the kids were born on St. Kitts, but he was born on Montserrat. And West Indian is a mishmash of ethnicities. So I'm definitely a mutt. I've got all kinds of, I did my, what do you call it, ancestry.com, and it's like all over the freaking map. Like from
Mhm.
Eastern Europe to Ireland to all along the coast of Africa. Yeah.
Well, same thing here. When I did my ancestry back in 2016 to celebrate my 50th birthday, and I got a chance to look not only on my late father's side of the family that made contributions to this country, but also on my late mother's side of the family. She only had one cousin who worked for CBS
Oh, really?
and he was the first black to be hired for CBS. But I can tell you this: her father's side of the family, which includes her late uncle, my late great uncle, and his name is Charles Thomas, and he's white. Greek Italian, African American, which
Mm.
is why you always people look at my big nose. And when I was born in the village of Harlem in New York City, 1966 of October, and when my parents were divorced, my father's name was Samuel Wilson Sr. and my mom was Aura Irene Thomas Wilson. And my older sister, Waltrina Anita Wilson. My parents were divorced in the summer of 1969 and was moved to the Bronx. Now, my late mother is originally from Virginia. She was born in Norfolk, Virginia. And on her mother's side of the family is representing Hampton and Newport News. And her father's side of the family represents Richmond and Charlottesville. Some of her relatives on her father's side from Richmond had moved to Washington, D.C. And every October, I visit her relatives in D.C. and also in Waldorf and Temple Hills, Maryland. So I keep in touch with them. So I let them know when I'm in the neighborhood, I keep in touch with them. So as I was saying, my parents were divorced, and my mother and her parents they had moved to the Bronx.
Mm.
And they had lived on East 168th Street between Fulton and 3rd Avenue, where the 3rd Avenue L rolls by.
Hmm.
And I was living on Harrison Avenue on the west side of the Bronx. So when I was living in that building, back then it was just two buildings, but separated, split in half. And I was playing with my Spalding ball, just minding my own business. And I see some of the black kids. I say, "Hey, my soul brothers and my soul sisters." And then people look at me and they say, "You're not that black," because they look at my nose, because they realize that, oh, you're black, but you're not black, black, black.
Mm.
And that's when my late mother will always say, make sure that when you fill out those applications, make sure people may hire you, people may not hire you because of the color of your skin. And when I went to Disney World in 1974 in August, and then later Virginia, and she didn't tell me about this, that she was from Virginia. I got a chance to meet all of my cousins, my great uncles and aunts on her mother's side of the family, my granny's side. And then when we moved to Richmond and Charlottesville, then I got a chance to see my great uncle for the first time. It was a shock that my great uncle was white.
Mm.
And now, if I would have said something, if I was said something about something, I got an uncle who's white, my late mother would have
Mm.
slap me right in front of everybody and say, "You apologize to your relative. That's your great uncle." And I keep saying to myself, all those years, you tell me about black power, black pride. And then I have a great uncle who's white. And then when I speak to my maternal cousin about that, and she told me I got white relatives. So
Me too.
all through
And
the,
black relatives.
yeah.
All colors.
So
White,
all through the
yellow,
years,
darker, lighter.
yes, yes. So all through the years, I never forget my ancestry. And when I get information from ancestry.com about my late older sister, I asked my mom, was Waltrina's middle name was Anita? She said yes. And when I went to the Long Island Cemetery in October 2020, Halloween, I took a picture of my sister's tombstone and
Mhm.
my dad's tombstone. So they're on each other's side. So I took a picture and I found out proof of everything. So even though I'm still searching, I'm not giving up because I always want to do the truth. And if there was a situation comedy on that people development program, I would do a situation comedy based on my life growing up in the late 60s and 70s. You know, do a timeline where Dr. King and Bobby was assassinated in space in the black exploitation
Mm.
era. And then we got into the disco era and 18-year-olds given the right to vote. I said, I wanted to do a situation comedy, but it ain't going to be like the Cosby Show. It's going to be more like Bud York and Norman Lear.
Mm.
Situation comedy with a social message.
Right.
And that was something I always think about, but you never know. Now, your grandfather was in a band concert, and what was the name of the band?
He was a saxophone. He actually started on drums, and then he learned clarinet, and then he picked up the saxophone, and he played in a big band called Machito and his Afro-Cuban Orchestra, which is
Oh,
credited as the seminal group that brought Latin jazz to America. And they toured, and he played in Harlem, and my mother and her two sisters, the rest of the kids were too young to go. She and her older sisters were 16, 17, and 18, and they would go to the shows in Harlem and dance, and all the men would be hitting on him. But he did that for many, many years. That's how he earned his living.
okay, because
My other
every
grandfather, my father's parents he earned his living playing poker.
oh
Yep.
yeah,
And
because
apparently no one is sure if either grandparents ever became citizens of this country, which would mean my mom and I joke about it, and we say, well, if they weren't citizens, we're not citizens. So deport us to the Caribbean, please.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And like I said, every
I don't.
August, yeah, every August during Harlem Week, which I call it my Harlem Homecoming Day, every third Saturday of August, when I walk down West 135th Street, when I'm taking the D train, just walk down to St. Nick and just go down West 135th between 8th and 7th Avenue, known as Frederick Douglass Boulevard and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, I would see that Harlem Walk of Fame. And then every time I walked down right near the police precinct, I said, "Oh, Machito." And I
Yeah.
said to myself, "That's Stephanie."
Yeah, my
So,
grandfather. I mean, he,
yeah.
he played with some heavy hitters. My mom has this story about she and my father went to one of her father's gigs one night, and this one guy asked for a ride home. So my dad had a car, and they were driving this gentleman home, and he was sitting in the back seat with my mother, and he was like, "What are you doing with this guy?" He was hitting on her, right? It was Miles Davis. Yeah,
Oh,
they used to go to
oh,
all these parties and meet all these people. It was crazy back then, you know?
oh, wow. Yeah. And which high school did you go to?
I went to Willingboro High School in South Jersey, and I left that town when I was 18 years old and never looked back. Moved to California, San Diego for a little bit. I was going to college there. I originally wanted to be an oceanographer, but I realized, you know what, nah. And then I was changed to a writing major. And while I was in college, I joined a punk band and realized I want to play music. So I was dating this guy, and he wanted to go to Cooper Union in New York because he wanted to be an architect. And at the time, it was free. And I decided I wanted to try to get into modeling. So we just packed up and we moved to actually, we went to my mom's in Willingboro, and every weekend he would go to New York and look for an apartment and finally found us a place in Woodside, Queens. And I moved there when I was like 21, I want to say, and lived there till I was 55. Is that
Mm,
right? Yeah. So I consider myself a New Yorker. I lived there for a long time. Um, but yeah, in high school, I was in the uh, drama club, and I was in the band. As a kid, I was in all the bands, and I excelled really quickly. My original instrument was the flute, which I still play. But then when we got to high school, the rule was you can't be in the orchestra or the concert band unless you're in the marching band. And I just said, no, I don't want to be in the marching band because I don't like the cold. And you have to go out there in your uniform at a football game in the cold and play. I just didn't want to do it. So I didn't. Um, we had a rock ensemble, which was, I mean, we're talking in the late 70s, early 80s, which was like School of Rock. So we did it first. And I joined that and I sang. I was a singer, I sang backups, and I sang lead vocals on a couple songs. I wanted to join the jazz band. No, I wanted to play bass in the rock ensemble, and I wanted to play flute in the jazz band. And this teacher really, really discouraged me. He's like, "We already have a bass player." I'm like, "Okay." And then he said, "Flutes don't play jazz." What do I know? I'm a South Jersey kid. I mean, I was exposed to, my parents listened to, they listened to Motown, they listened to rock, they listened to the Beatles, they listened to Sly and the Family Stone, they listened to all kinds of music, but not jazz. So I didn't know that flutes actually do play jazz. So, and I didn't realize that until some years later. I was classically trained on the flute. So when I put my band Blue Number Nine together, and the guys were like, "Solo." I'm like, "I can't. I need the sheet music." But anyway, before that, I played bass in a band called Bill Pop and the Tapes. I was on one of their records, and I actually got a really nice review in a New York paper. I forget which one. They praised my bass playing because I have really a good sense of time. And then I played bass in another band for a little bit and sang backups, and um, I was just waiting on tables, and decided, you know what, I don't want to do music, even though that was my heart. I'm like, and I don't want to do modeling anymore. I did get some modeling work. I ended up going to Italy by myself and got some work there, because at my time, my look wasn't right. It was all like Brooke Shields and Christy Brinkley and like the all American blue eyed blonde hair. And so I kind of didn't fit the mold. When I got to Italy, they were like, "Oh, you're like Veronica Webb." I don't know if you know who she is. Look it up. Um, but I struggled there getting an agent. I didn't really have my act together as a person back then. I was young, and I didn't have a lot of support as a kid because two of my siblings were one was very sickly and the other was special needs, and I feel like my parents just thought, "Oh, she'll be all right." I did really well in school, and of course, I was really great at music. When I was in third grade, uh, they were this town I grew up in. They had 12 elementary schools, or 10 elementary schools. It was a suburb, a Levittown actually, in South Jersey, and they had each elementary school had its own swimming pool, and so I was on the swim team, I was on the soccer team, and we also had a band. So we were lucky back then because the teacher just came around and said, "All right, pick an instrument." And you picked an instrument and you joined the band, and they had the instruments there and they taught you how to play, and you had lessons, like 3 people in the flute group, maybe 6 people. And that, and then that teacher saw I was excelling, so I had one-on-one in school for free. So then they had this thing called the district band, which was like all the schools combined. And third grade, I had just started. I made the district band and I was like third chair. So yeah, I excelled quickly. I'm not bragging. I'm one of those people, like, I can pick something up and learn it fairly quickly. Like, I took guitar, acoustic guitar in high school, and later picked up the bass, as I said, and then decided I didn't want to do any of this anymore because I couldn't see myself earning a living. And I worked really hard. Like, I actually, on the bass, I went around and auditioned. And one of the people who I auditioned for, I did the audition, and afterwards she was like, "You're a very pretty girl, but we're looking for someone who can catch on quicker." And I don't know, should I say the name of the artist? It was Sean Colvin. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I didn't make the cut. She was new. And then so I went to like secretarial school and got a corporate job, and then that job had tuition reimbursement, so I went back to college. I didn't finish in California. The boyfriend and I had dropped out. So I finished and I got my degree, and I'm working this corporate job, and I'm sitting at my desk one day and I'm like, I feel like a cog in a wheel. And like the music came into my head, and I'm sitting there on my computer, and the lyrics came pouring out. And I wrote this song, and I started going to open mics. And then it was like, you know what? I have so many songs now. I have to start a band. So you said I was the co founder of Blue Number Nine. I was the founder. Um, and, we pounded the pavement for 15 years. We ended up going on tour. Uh, our music was a combination of, I don't know, somebody explained it really well. You're like rock, pop, and funk with a punk rock sensibility. I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate because my lyrics are funny and political and sassy. And I always say to people we were ahead of our time because we had a horn section. And at that time, like, the popular top 40 music was like wangly twangly guitars, I call it, like Pearl Jam,
Mhm.
and they all had an
Mhm.
acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And like for a while there, I was like, man, we should have kept going. But I was exhausted. 15 years. And we toured. We made it all the way out to Wisconsin. Oh my gosh. See, I'm getting older. Iowa, and down to South Carolina, and up to Maine, and kind of everywhere in between. And, we earned money. I didn't, but I made sure my band got paid. um, and put out all those records. Some of them recorded in the basement of my ex-husband and our house by me. I learned how to set up all the microphones and the mixing. Could be better, but we worked with what we had. The first album was done in the studio. It's just called Blue Number Nine after the band, but everything else was done at home in our home studio. And just stopped. Then I joined what did I do after that? I was
Didn't you go to the new school?
I did.
You
I
know,
went to
it's my late mother's alma mater.
yeah,
And
I went to
how
the
many
new
years have you been at the new school?
I got my master's degree there. So I finished up my bachelor's and then I continued on and got my master's.
And what was your major at the new
It
school?
was called media studies, which when I went for the interview at CBS and I told them that I went to the new school and that was my major, they hired me on the spot because master's degrees mattered back then. They don't anymore. Nobody cares anymore.
I
Um,
know, because
right?
living in right now in this, job society, we're in the world of AI and Chat GPT
Yeah.
and Go Connect profile and everything. Because one of the brothers that I met on the line boat, he did the Go Connect profile for me. So I said, can you email it to me so I can leave that on file and make copies of it? So when I go to the next job fair, I'll have that ready. I'm going to give them my resume and cover letter and give them the Go Connect profile.
Hmm.
So that way they can figure out which one they can use depending on what my qualifications are.
Right.
So I'm with you, girl.
So hard out there. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then like a lot of the listings aren't even actual jobs. I read a piece on it. I'll send you the link later.
Yes.
They're
Yes, please.
ghost jobs. They're not even. It's ridiculous. I kind of gave up. I was after CBS started doing all those layoffs. You lasted a lot longer than I did. I really thought I'd find something right away, and I ended up not finding anything. And then I had to leave. I gave up my apartment, had to go stay with friends, and COVID happened. Before you knew it, 4 years had passed. I was working on a food truck. I took a job washing dishes in a restaurant. Kept looking, kept looking, kept looking, and now I work in a grocery store. And I do some freelance work for this company that provided a product to the photo department. So I do some photo tagging, editing, which is kind of what I did there. That's freelance. These two things keep me afloat. But, I'd really rather have something in line with my education and experience.
Yeah, because everything is like either changing.
Yep.
Now, what was your major at the new school? You did say media, correct?
Media
What
studies.
was your major?
It was called media studies. So, I mean, it could be communications, but it was media theory. So that was like a lot of critical thinking skills and analyzing the media. And then there was also media practice. So it was a broad photography, videography, video editing, script writing, Foley. We kind of touched on a little bit of everything so that people could then go on and choose their path. And I wanted to be a video editor. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to edit. But at the time, I went back as an adult. I was working full time and going to school full time. Needless to say, by the end, I crashed and then
Mhm.
started my band right after. But yeah, I wanted to edit, and it was like all I could get was like, well, you could work in the tape library. That's how long ago it was. There were tapes with $10 an hour to start, and I'm like, I have my own place. I can't afford that. Even back then,
Mhm.
you can't live off $10 an hour in New York City or Los
Mhm.
Angeles. I even went out to LA and looked for work.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I ended up at CBS, which was a 16-year run.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But who did you want it to be when you grow up? I think you mentioned some of the other things you just mentioned earlier. What would you really, really, really want to be when you grow up?
Now, well, I'm already grown
Well,
up.
back then. Back then.
Because I am just I'm really intelligent. Again, I'm not bragging. Uh, and it's not just music. When I pick up an instrument, I can play it. I mean, I
Mhm.
told you I learned how to use microphone placement and recording software and the photo retouching that I did, self-taught, 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 self-taught. I can pick something up and do it fairly easily,
Mhm.
which didn't really serve me well in school because I got A's without trying very hard. And so it was always very hard for me. I could never really pick this one thing and say I'm passionate about that, because anything I tried, it was like, oh, that's cool. I'll do that. Oh, I can do this. Ooh, So, I mean, I wanted to be an oceanographer. That's why I went to UC San Diego. But of course, the music bug bit me. Sometimes I regret that, but then I don't anymore because the oceans are so destroyed now. I think I would have gotten really depressed. Um, but I guess I would have been a great bass player, which is what I did want to be when I look back. I wanted to play bass in the rock ensemble when I was
Mhm.
17. So,
Mm.
and then like when I moved to New York City and stopped doing the modeling, I practiced my bass really hard. Like I would get I was learning James Jamerson bass lines and like how to slap and pop. I mean, I told you I got a great review on from this Bill Poppin' the Tapes album, which is called Pop This, by the way. POPP this. That's available online. Pop This, and you'll hear my bass playing from back in the day. Um, yeah, I don't know why I didn't stick with that. Oh yeah, because I decided I'm never going to make any money as a musician, so I better go back to school.
Mhm. Now, growing up, who were some of your favorite singers?
Oh boy. It depends what age. Michael Jackson as a child, the Jackson 5, hands down. Uh, Aretha Franklin. Who else? I loved, as a teenager, I just loved Sting's voice. I thought it was very unique and cool. Uh, I am drawing a blank on singers. Let's see. Whitney Houston later on, amazing. I mean, her pipes are insane. Um, Mariah Carey too, but I was never a huge fan. Who else? Linda Ronstadt has a great voice. The Singers of Heart have great voices. Um, Never a big Stevie Nicks fan. I'm trying to think of some other male vocalists. Oh yes, John Anderson of Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with their music, but I loved his voice. Again, really different. Like I just like those different sounding voices, and of course the big, powerful, soulful voices. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm thinking of other music that I grew up on, and it's like, well, yeah, the voices weren't that great. I mean, Diana Ross and the Supremes. I'm a huge fan of vocal harmonies. Like um, when I was little, my best friend and her
Yeah,
sister and my
yeah.
sister would sit around in the bedroom and play music and harmonize. And my friend and I were good at it. We could just do it on the fly, but the two sisters were terrible, and we just like they couldn't harmonize. I don't know. You should have sent me that in advance so I could have thought about it some more. I mean, if you want to go way back, um, Etta James, but I didn't really grow up on that. So if you're asking me now, it's just huge. Stevie Wonder, amazing voice. Yeah, my mom and dad had all his records when I was a kid. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. Now, before you got into music, weren't you a playwright in some stage play? I don't
No,
know if you
that
can
was long
remember them.
after. That was long after. That was 2018.
Oh,
I wrote a
okay.
musical. I was working with this artist who had a band, and I thought, this is so she was theatrical. The whole concept of the band was theatrical, and I was a backup dancer, if you can believe that, me and another girl.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and her whole band quit at one point. She was a mess.
Mhm.
But I kept saying, this should be a musical. Like this band concept of your band, it's like so kooky. And then I started noticing, like, as she and I became friends, that her song lyrics were autobiographical. So I'm like, girl, give me a list of all your songs and tell me the backstory. And she did. And I just sat down and wrote this full length musical. And we used her music. I took a couple of her songs and rearranged them to make them more theater friendly. And
Mhm.
and then I think I wrote one song for the show, or maybe two. I don't remember. And so I wrote this thing, and I got a bunch of people together. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, so what do you do now? Because I had been in another musical in New York. We performed at the Fringe Festival. It was called Mom, a rock concert musical. It was about five middle-aged women. I played bass in that and saxophone and flute and was one of the main characters. There were five of us, but the other women were all actors. So when
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this thing, I turned to them. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, you sit down, you have a reading, you have people read the parts, play the music, and invite some people to watch. So I did. And the woman who was the leader of that band played the main character, which was based on her, kind of. And, but more over the top, like ridiculous. It was funny and touching. And afterwards, everybody who was involved in it, they were like, yay. So I'm like, all right, I got to do something with this. So I didn't know what to do, and I asked a couple people at CBS, Dick Ween, because I had gone to see a play that Dick Ween did. I'm like, how did you get your play on the stage? Well, believe it or not, it was a festival, and I just submitted to the festival. So I looked up musical festivals, found one, submitted, got selected. Turns out thousands of people submit to this thing every year. In fact, there was this guy named Vinny who worked over on the marketing side. I can't think of his last name. He submitted to it multiple times and didn't get picked. Thousands of people from around the world submit, and they picked 12 shows.
Mm-hmm.
And people were submitting it. I didn't. It was the. It's called. It was. They went bankrupt. I think 2 years after my show. It was called the New York Musical Festival,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the biggest one. And they would put like billboards in New York City to promote themselves and stuff. Um, so anyway, my show got picked, and I thought going into it that it was like, oh, cool, it's going to be free. But no, it was really like a boot camp. It was like, so you want to produce a musical? Raise the money, hire the people, audition the characters, you know, figure out, hire a stage manager, hire a lighting director, hire a director, hire, and pay. So I don't know how I did it. I almost quit, but I kept going and we did it.
Yeah, and I can tell you, you did good. So I applaud you.
I did it.
Yes. Now, as I said in the intro, I didn't know that you were a singer, songwriter, musician, and everything. I only knew you when you was working at CBS, the Black Rock headquarters at 51 West 52nd Street in New York City. Now, if you wasn't working at CBS, what would you be doing right now? Would you be back to your music world or anything?
Well, you mean if I had never worked at CBS, because I don't work
Right.
there anymore, I would probably have some other job. And I probably would have
Mhm.
gotten laid off too. They would have laid me off because that's what happens. The companies I worked for, CBS, there was one before that, and there was one before that. Three times another company took over and they laid everybody off. That's happened in my life. But I would have had some other job
Mm,
because it's really hard to earn a living at music.
yeah.
And I never
Now,
liked the idea of singing other people's music. I liked to do my own music, and that's
mhm,
even harder. But I
right.
did play in a band called Buzz Universe for a while, saxophone and flute, backup singing. And then I sang in a Zydeco band for a little while. It was called the Zydeco Revelators. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, Cytical. I think I was doing a gig for the seniors at the retirees, and one of my paternal cousins, who I see in October, had the DJ playing some Zydeco,
It's
and I
fun.
didn't know what that about. But a couple of these seniors were coming to me and say, "Hey, you got any Zydeco?"
It's
And I
fun.
had to look it up, and I was doing my research, and they're known for doing those line dances on
Yeah,
Zydeco.
yeah. I learned them, could do them on stage. But yeah, I would just be working a job. I wouldn't be a musician professionally because, like I said, I liked doing my own music, and that didn't work out. Um, but those other bands were fun. Uh, what was I going to say? I can't remember. There was something else I wanted to say in between, and I forgot what it was. I'm in a band now. I finally bit the bullet and joined a cover band.
Yes.
After New York, I moved to Delaware. Well, I didn't move. I came to Delaware, put all my stuff in storage, was staying with friends, and I go to music festivals and would bring my flute and jam and stuff. And I couldn't find anything here. There's not a lot to choose from, and you know, I'm a little picky because my frame of reference is coming from New York City, where they have the best musicians. People move there to be musicians, right? So you've
Hmm.
got
Right.
great players. Like everybody in Blue Number Nine was phenomenal. And I was very fortunate to play with people who were better than I am, because that brings you up, right?
Hmm.
So I was staying with these people, and this band reached out to me on one of the websites that I'm on, Band Mix, where you just put who you are and maybe someone reaches out to you or find a band that way. And they're like, "Hi, we're this, we're that. Here's our website, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Where do you rehearse?" They rehearsed 45 minutes north of where I was staying. And I told you I was washing dishes. I couldn't afford to do that drive for rehearsal. So I'm like, "Yeah, I can't do it. Sorry." Um, and then a couple of years later, they reached out to me again. They're like, "Oh, our lead singer just left. Are you sure you wanted to give it a shot?" So
Hmm.
now I'm living in Wilmington, which is where they rehearse. So I was like, "All right, well, we'll see. When are you playing?" So they
Oh.
told me where they were playing next, and I went. And I sat at the bar where no one could see me. And I thought, well, let me listen to them first. They're terrible. I'm not going to even go up to them. But if they're good or something, I feel something, I'll go up to them. So I did. I went up to them. Um,
Hmm.
and I just felt like they had a nice vibe to them. You know what I mean? They did a
Hmm.
couple songs that I don't really like, and they still do some songs that I don't really like. And uh, so I joined, and they really like me. They respect me. They learned one of my originals, not of my urging. They wanted to, so we play one of
Hmm.
my originals, which is satisfying. They play some funk and some soul, which is what I like, and then they play some dumb stuff, which I don't like at all, and then they play some rock and stuff that I like. But if it were on me, since they have a horn section, we'd be doing all horn band stuff. But
Hmm.
so that was
I get to, yeah, I got a chance to check out some of your stuff on my Facebook homepage. I said, Stephanie. I was like, Stephanie, you did.
Are you talking the new band, Double Shot?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, hey, I still got it. I just get energy as soon as I'm performing.
yes.
It helps to have a nice, like a big audience. When people are just sitting there and they're not dancing and it's not very many people, I get tired. And it's very difficult for me because the grocery store job that I have, I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Hmm.
Our gigs are Friday.
Oh.
So, I go to work from 8 to 4 on Friday, rush home,
Hmm.
change my clothes, put on my makeup, grab all my stuff, drive to the gig, set up, sing and dance for 4 hours, get home at 1:30, 2 o'clock, bring all my stuff in, go park my car, street parking. I don't have assigned parking, so I have to bring my stuff in and then go find
Hmm.
work. And by the time I'm asleep, it's like 2. I looked at my Apple Watch from our last gig. I got 4 hours sleep, and then I'm back at work the next day.
Whoa.
I know it's hard, especially at this age. So I hope I can keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
want to.
well,
It's fun, and I really like my bandmates.
yes. Now, since you and I are no longer working at CBS, which is now
I don't
Paramount Skydance
know.
Media,
Right.
LLC, and everything. And I still got my buyout, which I have it. And I was in the office with Hallahan in February 2019. And wanted me to take the buyout. And I read every single page. I said, I ain't ready yet. I'm just celebrating my 30 years at CBS. And I told Helen, and he said, you don't look that age to take that buyout. And I was turning 53 in October. And October is always award month. So I said, I want to go to that award dinner. And October 2019, I was celebrating my 30 years. And I wanted to go and get my award because this was for my late cousin, Ernest Bowles. And he was the first black to be hired at CBS for
Right.
33 and a half years. When it was on Madison Avenue and East 52nd Street in that whole building, and Records was across the street around the corner. And when they started building BlackRock headquarters around 1964, 1965, and building the broadcast center at the same time, I said to myself, I want to go get that award because number one, that was my birthday month,
Mm.
just in time for that week. Number two, this is for my late maternal cousin,
Right.
Ernest Bowles, because I owe that to him. And everything that I did for that 30 years, I've earned it and I deserved it. So I'll say, like 5 years from now, we can talk a deal. So then when the pandemic hit, and then I had to scan everybody's mail to their homes and
Wow.
condos. And then the first one that got laid off was Georgia Osborne. She was the first one to get that pink slip. And I didn't know that she started out in the theater. And
I think I
hopefully,
was the first.
oh, well, you were, that was the year before the start of the pandemic
Right.
and
Probably. Right.
everything. Yeah. And Georgia Osborne, I didn't know that she started out in the stage, and hopefully I'll get a chance to interview her soon because, like I said, every time when I see everybody delivering packages to, I didn't know that there was some other
Yeah.
things
Right.
that they've done in life.
I wish
But
I had known because we had a concert one time outside right across the street from work. It was like one of those outdoor summer concerts that the other.
yeah,
I have photos. I'll show them to you. Yeah, and everybody came. They just walked outside across the street and went to my show.
yeah, because every Wednesday when I be coming down, the CVS and Dwayne Reed, I always look at that Black Rock building. So the new owners got it. 2019 radio was sold to Intercom Communications, now Odyssey. And then the same year, in December, a week before Christmas, the merger went through. Viacom came back home for the second time around. Everyone heard about it, sold the Black Rock building, and then the law department, which was in the Pink Rock building, then moved over to 1345 6th Avenue. They heard about it. So when we started packing their things, when people heard about the news, they said, bye. Half of the folks have left before Christmas, and then some more right after the New Year holiday. And then when the pandemic hit, then there were more people were getting laid off. I mentioned Georgia Osborne, and then I see some computers were coming in from those that were working from home. I was looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 25 plus
My entire
everything.
floor. My entire
Yes.
floor. The art department, the photo department. I think they kept like 3 people
Hmm.
photo.
Yeah. And then when we don't have any more of the copy room, and then I was sent to the mailroom because now the mailroom had moved into a room where Charlie Baker, our former carpenter, used to be.
Mm.
And I have to go open up the door, come walk down the hallway, open up the door and everything. And our painter guy, he's gone too. So when 2021, when CBS sold Studio City, that's where they filmed Gunsmoke, Family Affair, and My Three Sons, and so many other shows. I mean, everything was all gone. So they already sold TV City because that's where they taped the Carol Burnett show and The Price is Right, and all of the game shows that I knew back then. And yeah, situation comedies, All in the Family, and its spin-offs, The Jeffersons, Maude, and Good Times, and everything was all gone.
Yep.
And then when I saw, I think David or Dave something, he was bringing out a skid full of pictures. I was like, hey,
Oh,
skid
Lombard.
full of pictures of CBS. I said, and you know the network will be turning 98 in March because they used to have a special called CBS On the Air. That was a 7-part miniseries. That was aired on Easter Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
March 26, 1978. They started off with the opening ceremonies, all the present and past CBS stars from all the CBS shows. So Sunday they started off with All in the Family and Kojak and Captain Kangaroo and the Saturday morning cartoons. And then Monday they had Lucy and B. Arthur. Tuesday they had the cast of MASH. Wednesday they had Dick Van Dyke, Danny Kaye, Buddy Epson, the Charlie Brown specials, and Cicely Tyson. Now, in case you may not know, she was on that CBS drama series East Side, West Side, and then later appeared in that TV special, The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman,
I
which won
remember
her an Emmy Award
that.
for
Mm-hmm.
Best Actress in a TV movie or special or miniseries. And then Thursday, the cast of the Waltons. And then Friday, Mary Tyler Moore, along with Jim Nabors and Bonnie Franklin and Bert Convy and Eve Arden. They were doing specials. They were doing the soaps. Yeah, can't stand them soaps. You know, Love of Life, Search for Tomorrow, and Home is Where the Heart Is, and The Secret Storm. I remember those because when my mom went to work, my grandmother had to be watching CBS all day. Look at all them soaps. Search for Tomorrow, As the World Turns, The Guiding Light, all of that. I can't even look at the cartoons for 1 minute. Everything. And Saturday's just the closing. So that was the CBS that I knew
Yeah,
growing up. And as you're seeing now, ugh,
I know.
yuck,
Yeah, I know.
everything.
I mean,
And
I emailed with my old supervisor, Gail, and we were just. She's like, I can't believe what's going on. It's heartbreaking. I mean, she loved that place. It's disgusting.
yeah, because when I've seen some of our favorite news reporters got their pink slips, and Maurice Dubois
No,
and John Dickerson said bye, and then just like you said, I was so disgusted.
me too.
I had not watched CBS ever since they
Me,
merged with Skydance.
nope.
And I did not watch the Kennedy Centers either. So I've teamed up with John Philo and Tina Dakin, and we say, we boycotting.
Hmm.
We have not watched anything ever
How's
since.
Philo doing? I haven't spoken to him in ages.
We keep in touch on Facebook, so anything that pops up, we keep in touch. And Gail Plouts too, so I keep in touch with them. Salvio, he be calling me every single day. I'm like, "What's up with CBS? Did you talk with Skydance?" I said, "Didn't you heard that everybody else was going?" It's like, "Oh boy." I was like, "Didn't you work at CBS from 1968? By the time you slid down the steps, you thought someone was coming after you, and this was 2017 in March, back in February. That's just a month before my mom passed away on St. Patrick's Day. And everybody be keeping in touch. So not everybody I keep in touch with at CBS, but those who have been good to me
I mean, I
at
stopped watching
CBS.
when they decided to fire Stephen Colbert.
Yep. So it's not the same. It's not the same CBS as it was
Absolutely.
back then.
No, it's
And
not anything like what it was. It's practically a propaganda network now. I mean, fortunately, they didn't go full on Fox News, but they could have, but they didn't, fortunately.
yeah, I can hear Uncle Walter crying in his
Oh
grave
my gosh.
right now. And he'd
Right.
be saying, "This is not the network that I have once worked as the most trusted newsman of the 20th century."
Right.
He would have been crying right now. He would have said, look at the network that I have reported the news every single night,
Yep.
all those years, bringing the truth. You get news updates from Associated Press and United Press International,
Right.
not Fox News.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. It's
Yeah, so so recently when I look at that building, everything is all gone. I see the second floor, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then half of the seventh floor, and 17 and 18 all the way up. And on the 16th and 17th floor, radio was there by the time I arrived on July 31st, 1989. You had CBS News Radio 880, which is no more. But I kept in touch with a couple of ladies that once worked at News Radio 880, and now they have their own business. Same thing with
That
FM.
building, is it occupied?
It is the 15th and 16th floor that used to be the radio network.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, News Radio 880 was on the 16th floor, and FM was on the 17th floor. They're saved. They're down at 345 Hudson Street, along with 1010 Winds and Fresh 102.7, that was used to be WNEW FM. That was Metro Media and radio and television back then. That was back in the 80s when the me decade came in. Every network has been bought up by corporates. So when I found out that Rupert Murdoch of Fox bought Metro Media Television, which includes WNEW TV, Channel 5, now WNYW, when I came home from choir rehearsal, I looked at the TV, I said, Channel 5, I said, what happened to Channel 5? That used to be WNEW TV, Metro Media, now it's Fox. All started out with all the Fox shows, 21 Jump Street and Married with Children and In Living Color. Now it's all just, ugh.
Yeah.
And then same thing with all of the other ones. Everything is all trash. And every time I look at CBS, it's trash. I'll be watching the Grammys because my paternal cousin is a member of the Recording Academy. But I will not watch CBS again. I'll just go watch my antenna TV and just watch all those TV classics back then. So that's what I'll be watching, antenna TV. So as for records was already sold.
See, that's the one thing I miss about the New York metro area. You could use an antenna and get stations. Not here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, well, I don't have cable, but I got my converter box.
Right.
So in case if I lost the signal, I got my computer YouTube as my backup.
Right.
So if I couldn't get the Thanksgiving Day parade, because I know CBS back then, they would have the All-American Thanksgiving Day parade hosted by all of our favorite CBS celebrities. NBC had the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade hosted by the NBC stars back then, now host of the Today Show. ABC never had a Thanksgiving Day parade. They had all the cartoons from
Right.
Saturday morning. And then the Tournament of Roses parade, all three major networks. And now it's just NBC with the Tournament of Roses and Thanksgiving Day parade. And that's it. I remember the day after Thanksgiving, CBS had those children's classics.
Right.
Sponsored by General Mills. So that was the CBS that I knew back then. And right now I'm watching independent media.
Me too.
So if any of your favorite news reporters, not any of those networks, they go on independent. I've seen Joy Reid
Love
and
her.
Katie Fang. They were both most at MSNBC. Now Katie Fang is with the Midas Touch.
I love my.
And CNN Jim Acosta, he's with the Midas Touch.
That's my
Joy
favorite.
Reid has hers, and Don Lemon has his.
I
So
also
I'll be
like
watching
Mike
Midas Touch, The Young Turks, and Roland Martin. And yeah, I've had it. Yeah, that too. Those two ladies coming out of Oklahoma, two
know.
middle-aged ladies. I love the intro when they say, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, they're good.
they always have me laughing.
They tell
but
it
I
like
enjoyed that. Yes, so I enjoyed those too, but they bring in some news, women's issues, and other top
it is. Yeah.
stories. And yes,
Brian
and I'm
Tyler.
watching some of the
Do you ever watch Brian Tyler?
yes,
He's a good one too.
yes, yes, that too. Because I was saying to myself, if I had my own radio and TV station, so I would have like news at 8:55 a.m., then at 11:55, and then 3:55 p.m. I would have news updates all through the hour and everything. So that was me growing up. And yeah, and also I be checking out some of the other platforms because I'm subscribed to most of the YouTube channel. Not just only news, but also some of the those former adult film actresses,
Oh dear.
Lisa Ann, and those other ladies. I be watching those too. So if I was interviewing them, because hip hop play a part in the adult film industry. So when I see Tupac and Biggie, I would see some of those familiar faces. I say, "Oh man, ain't that Vanessa Del Rio in that music video?" And some of the others, because Little Kim, she was influenced by the adult film industry.
Hmm.
I would see her at every award show, including the MTV VMAs. You see her half dressed, and you
Right.
see her boobs sticking out. See that was Little Kim back then. She was influenced
She's
by the
weird
adult film industry.
now. She's
Hmm
just weird.
I was like, "Oh, Little Kim,
Yeah.
what did you do?" And nobody doesn't recognize you, Little
It was
Kim.
bad. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
ay,
Don't know what she did.
ay, ay, everything. Now, here's a question I always ask my guests, living or dead. Which artist that you wish you wanted to meet? You mentioned Aretha Franklin, you mentioned Stevie Wonder,
Tina
but
Turner.
who are some of the Tina Turner?
I
Oh
just want to
yes, the
meet Tina
one and
Turner.
only. Hmm
That was easy, right?
Yeah, it was easy. Yes, Tina Turner. Now, here on the Black Soul Music Experience, I always ask my guests who are the top 10 R&B black artists of all time. So since I have you, I'm going to do my top 10, and when I'm finished, I'll let you get to yours. So I'm going to start off with number 10. Number 10, I'm starting off with Phyllis Hyman. She was one of the best singers, but didn't get any recognition. She
Mm.
was on the Arista label back then, but didn't get that much umph or any promotion back then. So during the late 70s and 80s,
Mm.
and she did appear in a Broadway musical, Sophisticated Ladies, that starred Gregory Hines and Judith Jameson. And then in 1988, she made her acting debut in the movie School Days. That was a Spike Lee joint that had Lawrence Fishburne and Branford Marsalis and Tisha Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And she was supposed to perform at a concert back in June of 1995. She was supposed to perform, but then we found out that she had committed suicide and we lost her. So Phyllis Hyman is one of the singers I'll put at number 10.
You said
And
R
number
and B,
9,
R&B and
yes,
soul.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and she also did some jazz too. So she will cross a different genre depending on where she wanted to go. Number 9, I'm putting down Angela Bofield. And I didn't know that she's Afro Cuban. And she represents the Boogie Down Bronx, New York, and Brooklyn, New York. And when I first heard her, she was in jazz, smooth jazz. She did her song called I Try. I didn't know that she wrote the song.
Mm.
When I was watching BET's Midnight Love, I saw Will Downing doing his song of I Try. But when I saw the Billboard's contemporary jazz songs and I saw the song, I didn't know that Angelo Belfield wrote the song. So when I picked up her greatest hits,
Yeah.
then I got a chance to listen to her version. 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
I'm
And
writing
then
my
I
notes
compared that, and then I compare
right
that
now if I'm
to,
not looking.
oh, okay. And I compare that to Will Downing. He did it in 5 minutes. So I put Angela Bofield down. She started out in smooth jazz, and then in the '80s she started doing other genres, R&B and B and soul. She'll be known for her song "I'm on Your Side" and other tunes as well. So I'm gonna put Angela Bofield at number 9. Number 8, I'm putting down one of the artists that didn't get any recognition, and I'm putting down Angie Stone. We've lost her back in 2024. So she's known for neo soul. She made her debut back in the late 80s, when she was in the group called The Sequence. And I didn't know that she started out in hip hop. She was part of that group, The Sequence, and then 1999, she made her own solo debut with that song "No More Rain in This Cloud" from her debut LP, Black Diamond. I was in the car with my late mother, and my mom was asking me, "Is she doing a remake of Gladys Knight and the Pips?" Neither one of us.
That's a good. That's
No.
still.
I was telling her that she's sampling that from that song because she didn't know what it was. So I had to explain it to her sampling. She's
Mm.
sampling from that song, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Neither One of Us. So I had to explain that to her. So then she had some other songs, including Black Brother and I Wish I Didn't Miss You at All. Another song sampled from the OJ's Backstabbers.
That's good.
And she did some other tunes, but she didn't get any marketing or promotion. And when I did the tributes in last season of season 4, I was reading some information that Angie was getting ready to sue Universal Records for not marketing or promoting her LPs. So when I heard from Tyler Perry at Angie's funeral, he brought out a can of worms. And I said, I didn't hear this. I didn't hear it on the news about this. So when I looked up the information, I said, I'll put that on the tributes episode. So I'm going to put Angie Stone at number 8. Number 7, I'm putting down another singer called Lolita Holloway. She was known back in the mid 70s, but she was on an independent label. I first heard her debut song called Cry to Me, and that was heard on AM 1190 WLIB back in 1975. And that was the first time I heard that song. And but later on, when she was on the South Soul label, teaming up with the South Soul Orchestra, she had some hits, including Hit and Run and also Runaway, just to name a few, and Love Sensation. And that song was later sampled by Marky Mark Wahlberg and the Funky Bunch with the Good Vibration song. So Lolita had done very well, but we've lost her during the early to 2010s. So we'll put Lolita Holloway at number 7. Number 6, I am putting down this lady. I should say she crossed all genres. And I'm gonna put down Linda Ronstadt because I'm
Yeah.
gonna put Linda Ronstadt because she's Mexican. That I didn't know,
You didn't?
but
Oh my gosh.
no, I didn't know. But she had some singing jobs, and she sung genres. She can sing pop, she can sing soft rock, she can sing soul, she can sing big band and jazz, she can sing country music, and she can even sing her grandfather's Latin music. It's called Canciones de mi Padre, and she won a Grammy for that best Latin recording. So I would never knew this lady was sing all genres. So I'm putting down Linda Ronstadt at number 6. Number 5, I'm putting down the Pointer Sisters. Pointer Sisters have been there from its inception in 1973 with their self-titled debut LP, on the ABC Blue Thumb label. They was doing Yes We Can, why can't we can't, because we know what we can. And I saw them perform on Soul Train. They were doing another song, doing Cloudburst. Now, these sisters have crossed genres too. They've sung pop, they sing soft rock, they sing jazz, and they did a country song too called Fairy Tale, and that won them a Grammy Award for Best Country Female Performance. And they had that little acting debut too. They were in the movie Car Wash, which
Oh,
had Richard Pryor and George Carlin and Franklin Ajay and actor Bill Duke, who played Dwayne, or better known as Abdullah. So they were in the movie Car Wash, and also they made some guest appearances on the Carol Burnett show on CBS.
I didn't know that.
So they'll be best known for that. So I'm gonna put the Pointer Sisters at number 5. Number 4, I'm putting down Roberta Flack. So she came on the scene in 1969 with her debut LP, First Take, with that original song, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Now, even though it wasn't a top 10 hit until that song was re released again for the 1971 movie Play Misty for Me, and that song was used in that movie, and that song went to number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts. And she had some other tunes from other albums. I remember one of the songs, including Reverend Lee, and she did her version of the Shirelles, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And Feel Like Making Love, number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and the Soul Singles charts. And she was nominated for a Grammy for that at the 1975 Grammy Awards. And her other song, Killing Me Softly, with her song number 1 hit on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and on the Soul Singles charts. And that song was later remade and done by the Fugees for a top 10 hit for that group as well. But she'll be best remembered for doing duets with the late Donny Hathaway. So we're putting Roberta Flack at number 4. Number 3, I'm putting now the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, and came on the scene in 1967 with her debut song Respect, number 1 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts and the Hot 100 Pop Singles charts. And I didn't know that that song was written by the late Otis Redding. It didn't become a hit for him, but it became a hit for her and won a Grammy for that one. And that song was later used as a woman's empowerment song. And I was watching some of the clips, and Dr. King had stepped by and surprised her. So that was used as a women's movement song. She had some other hits. She was best known for other remakes, including Spanish Harlem and Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Until You Come Back to Me, best known for her remakes. So Aretha have sung gospel, she have sung soul, she have sung pop, and one time she did some jazz with that LP called Aretha's Jazz, and that was some unreleased tracks from some of her jazz tunes that was never aired before.
Mm.
And then the unthinkable. When I was watching the 1998 Grammy Awards live at Radio City Music Hall on CBS, she was singing opera.
Wow.
Opera. I couldn't believe it because here's an FYI. Luciano Pavarotti was supposed to perform, but he
Really?
wasn't feeling well. So the producers have came to Aretha and said, "Can you do this?" And Aretha said, "I'm going to give it a shot." And she did it. Standing ovation. You know, some of the singers were saying bravo. And then some of the singers were in tears when they saw Aretha perform. So Aretha did it all. American Music Award winner, Grammy Award winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 1987, and a Kennedy Center honoree for 1994. She done it all. So we're
That's
putting
amazing.
Lady Soul, Aretha Franklin, at number 3. And I'm gonna tie it with Marvin Gaye. I'm gonna put that a tie. Marvin Gaye, who came on the scene in the early '60s when he was on Motown. He did some mellow songs of Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra, but Berry Gordy said you need to up tune it. So he had some tunes, including Stubborn Kind of Fellow, Ain't That Peculiar, and did some duets with the late Tammy Terrell. But then by 1971, his masterpiece LP, What's Going On, the greatest masterpiece concept album ever. His first song, What's Going On, was at number 1 on Billboard's Soul Singles Charts back in March of 1971 for 5 weeks.
Hmm.
His
Great.
album came out in May of 1971. Album went gold, sold over 1,000 copies in print. His other tunes, including Mercy, Mercy Me, The Ecology, and Inner City Blues. By 1972, he did the music score for the movie Trouble Man, and I got the soundtrack album too. And yes, me and Mom, we saw that movie too. And other tunes, including Let's Get It On, Got to Give It Up, After the Dance, just to name a few. And then by 1982, when he switched over to CBS Records, he had an album called Midnight Love with his number 1 hit, Sexual Healing. Number 1 on Billboard's R&B Black Singles Charts in December of 1982 for 10 weeks. And he won an American Music Award and a Grammy Award for Best Song. And his last appearances were the Motown 25th Anniversary Special on NBC, and he did his version of the national anthem at the NBA All Star Game. So Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his dad on the eve of his birthday. So Marvin got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 1987. So rest in peace to the one and only Marvin Gaye and Aretha. And I put them a tie at number 3. Number 2, I'm putting down Michael and Janet. So Michael came on the scene with his brothers 1969 with their debut song I Want You Back from their debut LP Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5. They had other songs on that LP including Who's Loving You, and then by 1970 had that other LP ABC. They had that song ABC and the Love You Save. Other tunes that followed, including Never Can Say Goodbye, Dancing Machine, and while Michael was doing a couple of solos on Motown, he had Got to Be There and the soundtrack LP, Ben, and his other one, Forever Michael, which had 2 songs, including Just a Little Bit of You. When Michael and his brothers left Motown for CBS Records, Jermaine stayed at Motown, so he took Randy with them. And they were on the Epic label. They had their renamed it the Jacksons, and they had their debut song Enjoy Yourself, Let Me Show You the Way to Go, and then Shake Your Body Now Down to the Ground, just to name a few. And yes, Michael did some solo LPs too. 4 LPs. The first one with Quincy Jones, including Off the Wall, with his song Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You, and Off the Wall, million sellers. He won an American Music Award for favorite soul, male, favorite pop singer, all of that. And then the second album, Thriller, million seller, nonstop, another Quincy Jones production. Had his debut, You Wanna Be Starving Something. And then you had Thriller, The Girl Is Mine. Billie Jean, number 1 hit on Billboard's R&B Black Singles Charts in March of 1983 for 10 weeks. And he performed that song on the Motown 25th Anniversary Special. Man, I would see his sparkle glove, the
Hmm.
sparkle socks, the moonwalk, everything. And 1984, at the American Music Awards, it was his night. He swept the night. He got all the awards for best pop, best soul R&B, best rock, best music video, and he won an American Music Award of Merit. It was his night. And then his other solo LP, Bad, and another Quincy Jones thing. And I've seen the music video, 15 minutes, directed by Martin Scorsese, upcoming actor Wesley Snipes, filmed it at the subway station. I think it was Hoyt Skimmerloin Street in the Bed-Stuy section of Brooklyn. 15 minutes. Michael is known for his 15-minute music videos. He did Thriller with cameo appearances by Playmate Ola Ray, and his other music video, The Way You Make Me Feel, with some models, and his other one, Man in the Mirror, from his Bad LP. So Michael had done it all. And his fourth solo LP, Dangerous, which was produced by different producers. The video, black and white, I saw that music video on Fox. And there was some cameo appearances by George Wendt, Tess Harper, Macaulay Culkin, and Tyra Banks. And then we got to the almost ending of it. They had to, before they toned it down, they had to, he was doing his crotch and everything. But later on in the other music video channels, they had to tone it down or just like edit it out. And his other music video, Remember the Time, directed by the late John Singleton, cameo appearances by Iman, Eddie Murphy, and Magic Johnson. It's like in Egypt, pyramids, special effects, everything. So Michael had done it all. He won a Grammy, an American Music Award. He participated in USA for Africa's We Are the World, #1 on both Hot 100 pop singles charts and R&B black singles charts, and got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, for 1997 and 2001. And the last time we saw him, he was doing the This Is It concert movie. So we've lost him in June of 2009, and he done it all. So rest in peace to the king of pop, Michael Jackson. And we don't want to leave out his sister Janet, because Janet performed with her brothers in 1974. She wanted to get into show business. So here it is. They had their own summer variety show on CBS, The Jacksons. And then later she joined the cast of Good Times on CBS. Later she joined the cast of Fame in syndication, made some appearances on Different Strokes on NBC. And then she had her first major LP on the A&M label. Although it didn't do too well in 1984, but by 1986, when she teamed up with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with that LP, Control, instant smash. Sold over 1 million copies in print. You had the songs Control and What Have You Done For Me Lately? And then Funny How Time Flies. Those, everything. When I Think of You, those four top #1 hits. She won an American Music Award, 2 American Music Awards for that album, and she was nominated for a Grammy as well. So other LPs, including Rhythm Nation 1814, and her other LP, Janet and the Velvet Rope, which includes the song which was sampled off of Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi, but we know it good until you got till it's gone. So I love that song and everything. So we'll put Michael and Janet at #2. #1, the Wonder Man, Stevie Wonder. And he came on the scene at the age of 12 when he was with Motown Records. Debut song, Fingertips. Other songs have followed, including Uptight, Everything's All Right, Blowing in the Wind. Also, he did My Sharia Moore, For Once in My Life, Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. And then by 1973, he was picking up where Marvin Gaye left off. He did some songs with social issues, with the LP Inner Visions that had Living for the City, that has dealt with systematic racism. And his other song, Too High, that didn't become a hit, but it was a song about drug addiction. His other LP, fulfilling his first finale, number one hit, You Haven't Done Nothing, that was poking at President Nixon and the administration and stuff. And his other song, Creepin', I didn't know that Stevie wrote that song. I only knew it when the late Luther Vandross performed it, but I didn't know that Stevie Wonder written it and performed it. Other hits, including songs in the key of life that had Isn't She Lovely and As, and of course, I Wish, and his other album, Hotter Than July, which had Master Blaster Jammin' in tribute to Bob Marley, and the other song, Happy Birthday. That's the song that we always use for our birthday party. And he dedicated that album in memory of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he's been going to Congress back and forth to make Dr. King Day a national holiday. So when President Reagan signed that bill in 1983, we was all cheering. Some of the black legislators were happy, but then some of the others were not happy because they wanted to have it on this actual birthday. We had to wait until 1986 to become a national holiday. But there was only one state that did not celebrate that holiday, and that was Arizona.
Hmm.
Governor Meekum was the governor of Arizona. They did not celebrate Dr. King Day because they probably think that Dr. King was a communist.
Oh.
Others were everything.
Mm.
So hats off to Stevie Wonder, Grammy Award winner, American Music Award winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 1989, and a Kennedy Center honoree for the class of 1999, activist, Oscar winner for that song, I Just Called to Say I Love You, just to name a few. So I have my top 10
Okay.
classic soul and today's R&B artists of all time.
Some of mine crossed over. I don't have the whole story like you do. And then after that, I got to go. I'll give you my list.
Okay.
Michael Jackson also.
Uh-huh.
Marvin Gaye also. Aretha
Uh-huh.
Franklin also. Smokey Robinson and Stevie Wonder also. So that's 5.
Okay.
But I also put Etta James. What a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Charles. Great history with him. Whitney Houston. Tina Turner and Chaka Khan. Is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 10.
Okay. Yes, we got it all. So there we have our top 10 list of all time. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for being here on the Black Soul. Thank you for coming back here. It's a pleasure. And we want to mention that Stefanie Seskin will be performing on March 27th. So if you're in the Wilmington, Delaware area, make sure you...
the 26th.
Okay.
I had it open and then I closed it somehow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. But anyway, folks, please check out my former CBS colleague, Stefanie Seskin. Check her out. And also look for her music available on iTunes and on YouTube. And download all the artists that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. And if you love this episode, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for me on these 5 platforms. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, and the link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget the S at the end, -studio. And I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. If you have a hard time getting onto riverside.fm, please subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. If you got a computer, use your email and your password. Go to the Patreon homepage, go to the search box and type in the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Check out all of my audio and video podcast episodes and the podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on the Patreon, I will be posting this episode on YouTube Go to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. If you like this episode, if you love my podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience.
Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience Podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Look for my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And don't forget the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66, and follow me on Instagram at SAMM.Y2980. As always, partying, remember this: reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.